Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Jeff Crowley. I appreciate you being here this evening as we listen to our presenters. Just for your sake, all students and attendees, your cameras are off, you're muted. I will be letting the presenters take over, and then you can ask questions through the Q&A section. But afterwards, if you don't get your question answered, they will get a copy of it, and we'll follow up with you afterwards. Feel free to sign up for other sessions if you are interested in that. And then just so you know, this session is being recorded, and at the end will be available in about a week or so. So with that, I'll turn it over to the team here. Take care.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my screen just to get our presentation ready. In the meantime, though, I'd love to introduce myself, and my colleague will introduce herself as well. My name is Jenna Sherino. I serve as the Associate Director of Admissions here for St. Mary's College of California. I am a product of a private and liberal arts education myself, so representing St. Mary's is something that's really at home for me, certainly advocating for this incredible and transformational education. And I also am a graduate of a Colleges That Change Lives school. I graduated from 2013 at Eckerd College. So now working for St. Mary's is truly rewarding. Just advocating really for the importance of fit in the college search is something that really grounds me in higher education. And I work specifically with students from Southern California. So all throughout the Southern California area, as well as here locally in California for students from private schools in Santa Clara and San Jose counties, and then out of state for students from Hawaii.
Perfect. Thanks, Jenna, for that introduction. So good afternoon or evening. My name is Kirsten Colte. I am St. Mary's international admissions counselor here in the undergraduate admissions office. I am actually a double alum of St. Mary's College myself. So I also graduated from a CTCL. I am the class of 2017 and the class of 2019 for graduate school. I also oversee the public school systems of the city of San Jose, Santa Clara counties. I oversee parts of Contra Costa counties, Valley of the Moon, and Alameda County, with the exception of the city of Oakland. I also oversee Guam, the U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, and any country outside the United States.
Awesome. Well, we're really excited to share more about St. Mary's with you today. What makes us unique as a Colleges That Change Lives school, but also what makes us different, from I'm sure all the schools that you're researching currently, if you're a senior or just starting to navigate through in your college search, from both the student life perspective and also the academics and admissions perspective too. So we have a lot to share with you, so we'll jump right in. I first want to start off by sharing our location. So locationally, St. Mary's is located in the heart of the San Francisco Bay Area. So we're actually right in the heart of the East Bay. So about 15 minutes directly east of Berkeley, 20 minutes directly east of Oakland, and then about 35 minutes directly over the Bay Bridge from the city of San Francisco. So we have a great opportunity, I think, for students to experience the best of both worlds, right? To experience a community of students at the smaller level. Our undergraduate students are about 2,600 in size, but with the proximity to the real, I think, strong sense of diversity that the Bay Area offers, the sense of innovativeness too, and also getting the chance to be a part of this incredible landscape of internship possibilities, but also just getting off and enjoying your time off campus too is really important for students. Most students do live on campus the majority of their 4 years at the college. I'll talk about that shortly. But the community, being a part of the community, I think is really important for students, not only for their first year, but throughout all 4 years. And you'll hear us talk a lot about community and the ways that our students build community at St. Mary's. Starting with, I think, our identity as a Catholic Lasallian college. St. Mary's was I think, founded by the beliefs and the work of Jean-Baptiste de La Salle, who was the revolutionary for education back in 16th century France, and has really allowed the doors to be opened for and the barriers to be eliminated for students in their pursuit of an access and equality education. So we exist within several core principles that really define, I think, our intrinsic mission, but that also call to all faiths, not just the Catholic faith. We also are a liberal arts and sciences school. So our students are focusing on a really comprehensive background of study across the opportunity to major in 43 different academic programs and 4 distinct colleges within St. Mary's: the School of Science, the School of Liberal Arts, the School of Education, and the School of Economics and Business Administration. And of course, we are the only California, only Division I, and only Catholic school that is renowned in the colleges that change lives. Showcasing our Lasallian core principles, I think this intrinsically ties our students to the campus community and breathes life into the community in so many ways. Our students really live by the core principles, and our faculty definitely tie the threads of our core principles into their teaching. My favorite core principle, I think that is so relevant to today, is concern for the poor and social justice. I think our generation of students now, more than ever, really feel this call for solidarity and standing against inequality. And our campus community is incredibly diverse, which Kirsten will share with you shortly. But incorporating all these aspects, I think, inherently allows our community of students to feel at home on a college campus like this.
Perfect. Thanks, Jenna. I'm glad you mentioned that point on the star of the core principles slide, because as a former student, that also resonated with me even during my time here at St. Mary's. So over half of our student body population identify as either multiracial, biracial, or as a person of color. I think this is really important to highlight, because if you're anything like me, when I was looking at colleges, I assumed, aha, you know, a private education, you have to be affluent, probably straight presenting, and probably white to go to this school. Thankfully, that is not the case at St. Mary's. We're very diverse. We also have several different clubs on campus that focus on several different facets of identity. You can be a member of all these clubs, multiple clubs, or clubs that speak to you personally. Some of our most populated clubs that fall under this umbrella are BSU, which is our Black Student Union, APASA, which is our Asian Pacific Islander Student Body Association. We also have Las Hermanas and Ballet Folklorico. Those are 2 separate clubs, but they often work in tandem with one another during fundraising events. And we also have Pride on campus as well. If you happen to fall in this population, I did too, about 36% of students who currently attend St. Mary's are the first person in their family to go to college. I am also a part of this statistic. If you happen to fall on this as well, we have a fully comprehensive federally funded TRIO grant program at St. Mary's. It's called High Potential. I believe it's turning 52 or 53 this year, so it's quite an old program. And it's very comprehensive. You'll also get academic support as well as scholarship opportunities through this program. It will be a separate application at your time that you will be submitting your application for our university as well. Over half of students that currently attend St. Mary's identify as something other than Catholic. I myself have no religious affiliation, and we also have an interfaith center on campus next to our chapel. It also has multiple copies of the Torah, the Quran. We have prayer rugs, statues of deities, and shrines. If you don't see your particular religion or religious affiliation represented in the center, all you have to do is just talk to one of our coordinators in the center, and they'll procure for you whatever you might need. We also have of course, this year, because of coronavirus, we had students elect if they would like to stay at home and learn distance, or if they wanted to be local and stay at the college. But in a traditional year, it is a requirement, and all of our first year students live on campus. Next slide, Jenna.
Sure. I will also add to in touching on our Catholic roots, and in that previous slide, you might have seen the image of our chapel, which is actually the first thing that you'll notice when you do have the opportunity to visit campus, hopefully again soon. But we do offer and do hold Mass every day for students to really pursue an opportunity to focus in on their faith and to establish a faith-based education. There's no expectation or requirement for students to attend Mass, so that really gives light for students to pursue faith in the way that serves them.
Perfect. Thanks, Jenna.
Our liberal arts core curriculum.
Perfect. So very quickly,
Oh, that's okay. I would highlight too, with our liberal arts curriculum, what's unique about St. Mary's is that we do not have any impacted programs. So unlike other colleges that might require students to declare a major right away, St. Mary's does not. Students actually don't have to declare their major until the end of their sophomore year. I just wanted to add that before I turn it over to Kirsten to jump in and further explain the liberal arts.
perfect. I am so sorry about that, Jenna. I didn't mean to interrupt you. So perfect. So very quickly, hearkening back to my status as an alum of the college, when I first heard the term liberal arts university, I thought, oh, okay, so this university does not have sciences or hard maths or anything like that. That is not the case. Liberal arts universities do have these types of programs. We actually have a very thriving math and science department on our campus. The term liberal arts primarily deals with the style of teaching and the style of learning that our students will be dealing with. So by this, we essentially mean that we value student participation, whether that be written, vocal, or interpersonal, so how students relate to their professors or other students. And we also highly value critical thinking skills as well as active listening skills. You might also hear these terms being called soft skills when you're looking for jobs or entering the workforce. Sometimes the term soft skills can imply, oh, these may not, be that important. But that's actually the farthest thing from the case. Soft skills help you grow not only as a person, but also as an employee. They help reflect your work ethic, how you relate to others in the workforce. So it's really preparing you from transitioning from even college to the postgraduate life as well. Jenna, I wasn't sure if you wanted to add anything to that either.
No, I would further share that students absolutely can study outside of the humanities and the creative studies. There's a very strong focus on technology and STEM now today that really incorporates the best of the liberal arts, but also the direct focus of pursuing majors in the sciences too.
Perfect. So just very quickly, anecdotally, when I was attending the university, the largest class I ever had 24 students in it, and the smallest had 6 students total, including myself. So as you can tell, these are very small classes. We average at about 19 students per class. You also will not have a teacher's assistant teaching any of your courses that you'll be taking at our university. We also have a very high ratio between how many faculty members we have per how many students we have, meaning for every 11 students we have 1 professor. So we are very well interconnected when it comes to students communicating with their professors. Speaking as a former student myself, it's not unusual for your professor to, on their syllabus, provide their personal email address or a phone number to reach them at should they need to communicate with you outside of class. And also building this rapport with your professor also enables you to explore possible internship opportunities, research opportunities, other kinds of opportunities like that that you might have not been aware of before. But having that relationship with your professors is extremely advantageous.
Yeah, and I would just share too, the environment of the class experience at St. Mary's is entirely discussion based. I think that's part of uh, our identity too as a Lasallian school, is that access to education. And a lot of that starts with the ability for students to have the platform and to have the environment to advocate for their learning, and also to have their professors advocate for them as well. And notably, 97% of our faculty at St. Mary's have earned their PhD or their postdoctoral degrees. So these are our faculty that have earned their highest degree in their fields, that are here specifically to teach undergraduate students in a much more collaborative than competitive way. We wanted to highlight all of our academic majors. I'm sure there's quite a few students in the room with multiple different interests. Some students that are here tonight that are joining us might not have any idea what they want to study, and that's absolutely fine. I mean, we're here as a Colleges That Change Lives school to tell you that your journey is not restricted when you are accepted to a college. Students have the chance actually to jump right into their major of study in their first year. So technically, students do not have to declare their major until after their first year. So really having that flexibility, I think, in the first year experience is critical for students to hit the ground running, but also explore interests that they maybe didn't think they had, or have an inkling to, but maybe weren't entirely committed towards majoring yet. Quite a few of our students minor in a field as well as major. You can absolutely double major. Some of our most notable academic programs for alumni recognition, for just the number of graduates that we produce every year, business administration. We're actually ranked by PayScale as one of the top 25% of schools in the nation for return on investment. Students specifically in business have access to internship opportunities with Google, with Genentech, Cisco Marketing Technologies, Hewlett Packard. These are some of the connections that we have, which are usually of interest for business majors. Biology is our largest graduating science major, and that does include pre-med. Students that are considering medical school will have a pre-med advisor. Her name is Dr. Rainbow Rubin. She earned her degree, her PhD from Stanford, and she teaches full-time on our campus advising students to medical school. And between 65 to 75% of our students that apply to medical school every year are accepted. The national average is 38%. So St. Mary's graduates are above the national average pursuing medical school. Also within our top 5 degrees are communications, kinesiology, so like sports medicine, sports management, and psychology too. I always want to point out that the performing arts are incredibly conservatory style at St. Mary's, but without the requirement to audition into the major itself. So for students that have an interest in exploring dance, music, or theater, you do not have to audition in order to be accepted into the program. And also just for students that have a passion for dance or for musical theater, or want to be a part of the concert choir, these are all opportunities and engagements for students to participate without the requirement of majoring or minoring in those fields. They're open for all auditions.
Perfect. So kind of piggybacking off of what Jenna just described, none of, oh, I'm so sorry, I hiccuped. None of our majors at St. Mary's are impacted either. And I know that can be of concern for students when applying. When you matriculate into the university, so when you come as a first year, 4-year traditional student, upon admission, you will have a faculty advisor. This will be specific to your major of choosing. So for example, if you are an archaeology major, you won't be put in the biochemistry department. You'll have a faculty advisor within your chosen major. This will also change if you do choose to change your major at any point. You will then change faculty advisors to someone within your department. You'll also be given an academic coach. If you are part of that high potential program, that federally funded TRIO program that I mentioned earlier, you will receive a high potential program coach. They serve a very similar functionality. Your academic coach is a resource for you to ensure that A, your schedule is correct, and B, that you will graduate on time or early if you can manage it. They will also provide you with other opportunities they think you may be interested in. For example, when I was a student, I had a high potential coach, and she very regularly presented possible internships through partners on campus or external as well. When you are a first year student, you will also be sorted into a class known as FIAC or FIAC on occasion. It stands for First Year Academic Cohort. Its functionality, I jokingly like to call homeroom, but in college and actually helpful. So what I mean by that is you will have a faculty member hosting this course, and they will teach you things like how to declare your major officially, how to select courses on your own. They'll also give you workshops on how to build a resume, have that approved by our on-campus career and development services, professional development services on campus, if you should be interested in a job on campus. After you declare your major officially, you'll receive guidance specific to that major from that aforementioned faculty member, like I was talking about. They'll also help you prepare for postgraduate life. So if you're like me and you're very curious to pursue graduate school, either through our university or externally, you'll receive the proper guidance for that through your chosen department and your chosen major. And if you want to go into the workforce, you'll also receive counseling for that as well. And it's very helpful. Speaking as a former student, it's very helpful.
Yeah. Statistically, 75% of our students upon graduation will find employment in their field within 6 months to a year after graduation. And about 30 to 35% of our students will go on to pursue their postgraduate degree. So whether that be their law school degree or pursue their MBA or go on to medical school or even to take time off to do service. Needless to say, I definitely feel, and I think, and I know our students, this is not a place where students fall within the cracks. You're not an anonymous person. You have a face, you have a name, you have aspirations, and there's so many institutional systems of support to help you along your journey to graduate in 4 years.
Yeah, and very quickly to add to, with our Career and Professional Development Services Department, you can receive lifelong guidance through their office as well. I know several different alum who they still regularly send their resume over and they're like, can you look at this? Can you make sure that this is correct? And so that's an invaluable resource, especially when you're kind of breaking out into the workforce.
A huge part of the St. Mary's experience is what goes on campus because there is such an emphasis on community and students really want to incorporate community throughout their day-to-day. And to be completely honest, most of college is free time. It's very different than high school where you have a regimented schedule and taking 7 classes or 8 classes a day. Chances are in college, you'll be taking maybe 1 class a day, 2 classes a day, maybe even 3. But the majority of that time you have to spend studying. You have to, meet with clubs. You have to hang out with your friends. There's a ton to get involved with at St. Mary's, and students definitely take advantage of all that there is to do. We have over 60 different student-run clubs and organizations, and all of our clubs and organizations are student run. Meaning that if you have a club that, or if you are part of something, or you have an interest or an extracurricular activity that we don't already have established as a club, it's very easy to get that started. There's a big involvement fair at the beginning of every year where all the clubs and organizations come out and have a table. It's like a big fair, and students get to explore all the different clubs that are started for that year. But everything from art, music, and theater groups to religious organizations to multicultural clubs within the Intercultural Center, service-based organizations. There's an incredibly strong sense of service that permeates throughout the campus. Over 70,000 hours of service are dedicated by our students to the campus community every year, the greater Bay Area through CBOs and nonprofit work, to even international service through Lasallian leadership opportunities or even January term trips that go abroad. So there's a really big drive, I think, to make the world a little bit of a better place than how we came into it. some of my personal favorite clubs, the concert choir is incredibly distinctive for their performance. They actually compete internationally every other year. This past year, our students traveled to, was it Johannesburg, South Africa, Kirsten, or was that the year before?
Yeah, I think it was Johannesburg. And then we've always competed at Carnegie Hall, I think these past 3 or 4 years too.
Yeah, and they placed really high, like top 25 in worlds. What else is really popular? There's, I mean, a ton of club and intramural sports as well. Essentially at St. Mary's, although we are a small school, we are not small in school spirit. This is a small place to go if you have a big sense of school spirit and drive for sports and athletics. Students are really proud to be Gales. We compete at the Division I level in our NCAA Division I athletics for all 17 of our men's and women's D1 sports. So men's and women's soccer, basketball, baseball, rowing, golf, track and field, cross country, did I say volleyball, tennis, so on and so forth. Our conference is the West Coast Conference. So our consortium of schools that we compete against are schools like Gonzaga, which is probably our biggest rival, University of San Francisco, University of Portland, Santa Clara University, Loyola Marymount, Pepperdine, University of San Diego, and St. Mary's generally and typically ranks among the top performing in the WCC every single year. Our men's basketball team has consecutively competed in March Madness, like I think 10 times in the last 15 years. Our men's soccer team has won the national or the West Coast Conference Championship title the last 3 years in a row. Rugby has actually taken the national championship title from Cal in 2018 and 2019. There's a really incredible sense of school spirit that exists at St. Mary's, I think, because of that too. And most students live on campus, as I mentioned, all 4 years. Again, we did not require first-year students to live on campus this year because of the pandemic and the impact of the pandemic on residential college campus life. But we still do have students that are currently residing in their own single rooms, social distancing now. But we do hope to welcome and continue our tradition of requiring first-year students to live on campus, which I personally think is great. You really get that access right off the bat in balancing your social engagements and your academic life too.
Perfect, thanks, Jenna. And I think we can, yeah, there we go. So as a student, I personally actually really enjoyed seminar. I was actually kind of scared of it when I first came in because I had never seen a classroom. I attended a public school myself throughout all my life. And so I had never seen a classroom that was set up in this kind of circular orientation as you're seeing here. And I was kind of scared, I was kind of intimidated, and I wasn't sure what to expect. Seminar is our school's version of the Great Books program. So you'll be learning things from all the way from way BC, from thinkers like Plato, Aristotle, Thucydides, Euclid, lots of Greco-Roman playwrights and philosophers, all the way to modern day. 2018, I believe, when I was a student, was the latest thing that we actually read, or 2017, excuse me. So it was the year that I graduated, was the last thing that you read. You also read from great thinkers like Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, Cesar Chavez, Ursula K. Le Guin, Maya Angelou. So it's actually quite diverse in what we're talking about, topics covered, and centuries covered as well. What's really interesting about seminar is the way in which it's taught. So Collegiate Seminar, or Seminar for short, is named that because we take our style of teaching from the Socratic seminar methodology of teaching. So the methodology is essentially to learn by asking questions. If you were anything like me, when I first came into the university, I thought, you know, oh my gosh, people are going to think my questions are stupid, or people are going to judge me for what I'm saying in class. Seminar is not that way at all. Thankfully, the rest of St. Mary's isn't either, but I was especially intimidated by seminar at first. Seminar is very interactive, As you can see from this arrangement, there's no head of the table. Your professor is more like your peer in this class, and they don't lecture. Everything is class-based discussion. Your grade primarily is derived from two things. The lesser of this percentage is based upon writing assignments. So this includes essays, which are in turn usually quite short. But most of your grade comes from in-class participation. And yet again, I was intimidated, but it's actually about how you contribute to the conversation at hand, not how many times you're speaking during the period. We also have a policy called step up, step back. Step up, step back essentially guides our students to step up when they say something, but also step back, actively listen to what other people are saying and see how you can contribute to the conversation as a whole, rather than, interjecting with, I agree, and then falling back and not, building up upon that thought. It's also a very safe place to discuss topics that might be kind of difficult to discuss otherwise, or ideas that are very thought-provoking and kind of sensational too. So it's a very engaging class. Personally, it was one of actually my favorite experiences when I was a student here. It is also a required class for every major. You'll take it once per academic year. The only major that does not take seminar is our integral major, which is our classical studies major. If you are part of that program, all of your classes will be taught in Socratic seminar style. And I guess just as a fun tidbit, the girl in the purple hoodie next to Brother Mark there in the habit is my sister-in-law. So that's fun. Proves I went here.
Yeah, I love seminar for so many reasons. I think predominantly because it's an experience where students are learning how to think, not what to think. They're not presented with a syllabus and they're not guided by a professor in a lecture kind of environment. You're really guided by the discussion between you and your peers. And it's definitely not the most vocal student that is going to earn the best grade in seminar. It is students that show up authentically and participate in dialogue in meaningful ways. And sometimes that's just by asking an insightful question that maybe stimulates something that nobody else had thought about before. January term arguably is my favorite thing about St. Mary's. It's my favorite experience, I think, for students to get out of their comfort zone and do something different. For our academic calendar, so students take a 4-1-4 academic calendar at St. Mary's, which essentially means that students are enrolled in 4 classes each semester. So 4 classes in the fall, 4 classes in the spring, and then one class, just one class only during the entire month of January, which is called January term. January term, students can either take a class on campus that might not have anything to do with anything in relation to their major of study. They could also do an independent study or an internship if that's approved by their advisor, or you can do a domestic travel experience or a study abroad for the month of January. The study abroad programs that go internationally for the month of January term are all led by faculty and take a small group of St. Mary's students, usually about 12 to 15 students. So it's a bit more of an immersive opportunity to study abroad. And I think for students that are either taking a class on campus or if they're traveling abroad to a completely different continent, the learning is really the same. You really transform into a global citizen. You expand your worldview. You're engaging your mind in a topic that you're excited to learn about. There's about 50 different classes that are offered on campus every single January term. And they range in topics from Star Wars culture and theology, or dog psychology and dog cognition, to wilderness ecology of the Bay Area, food and science culture, deconstructing Harry Potter, which is a course that's being offered this January term again, usually one of the most popular classes every year. There's a course also that is looking at the Netflix effect, so the effect of digital streaming services on generations today. the history of rock and roll. There's so many incredible classes to take that might align with your major, but don't have to. So it gives you a chance again to do something different because the topic is exciting to you and because you're going to learn something meaningful from that experience. And if you are applying to go on a domestic or travel abroad for January term, there's about 25 different trips that go throughout the US and internationally every single year. Again, all led by faculty and all with a consortium and a cohort of students. And very similarly to the classes on campus, all the courses at Study Abroad all have a different topic of study. So last year for January term, we had students that traveled to Australia and they learned about conservation efforts in the outbacks. We had students that studied in Tibet and Nepal, and they focused on Buddhist culture and actually got to work in the monasteries. We had students that traveled to Rwanda, and they focused on women's leadership in developing nations. There were students that traveled to the Amazon rainforest this past January term, to Ireland, to Italy, London, Romania. All incredible opportunities to focus on studies abroad. And even in the United States, there's some really great opportunities to travel to, like to Hawaii. It was an off-the-grid class. Students had to leave their cell phones, their iPods, any electronics at home and experience Hawaii's culture and environment fully without the influence of social media. Every year, we have students that travel to Salt Lake City, Utah for the Sundance Film Festival. And uniquely, any major or any course for January term is non-major specific. So it gives a biology major to, study dog behavior and cognition, because that might be of interest to them, but, or they could, take a music class or travel and do service at a Romanian boys' school. There's so many opportunities for January term, and students are really invigorated by this kind of experience to get out of their comfort zone and again, do something different. Oops. Sorry about that, everybody. I think I cut out of our presentation.
That's
Let me just pull this back up. Did you have anything else to add about January term, Kirsten?
You covered it pretty extensively, but for me anyway, it was one of my favorite times to be a student at St. Mary's. It was an incredible experience. I didn't know any friends that had anything similar in any schools that they were currently attending. And so I got like jealous texts from friends that were like, oh, well, have fun in your Harry Potter class today. I'm going to go to lab. And I was like, but in a serious tone, it actually is a really good opportunity for you as a student to broaden your horizons, explore something that you're interested in that really lights your psyche on fire and that you're very passionate about.
Absolutely. I want to add something really quickly about study abroad, since I just thought we had a question about financial aid for study abroad. So for January term, students can apply for January term scholarships. So for students that do demonstrate need, they actually could receive a significant scholarship that's endowment-based or grant-based to help fund their study abroad. But because the January term opportunities to go abroad are heavily subsidized, they typically range in cost from anywhere from $500 to $4,000 maybe, but all travel expenses are included in the cost of that abroad program. And for students that have an interest in studying abroad for an entire semester, we have fall and spring and even summer opportunities to study abroad, and students will work with our international education office. There's about 13 different global connection programs that we specifically have ties to, where if a student goes through one of those affiliated programs, they would not pay any more in tuition generally to live on campus than they would to actually study abroad at that international location. I always tell the story, one of our student ambassadors from San Diego, who is a theater major and a senior this year, last fall, he studied abroad in London, and the only out-of-pocket expense that he had was his airfare round trip and his personal expenses. All of his scholarships, merit-based, need-based aid covered the cost of his study abroad program. So study abroad is definitely not financially unattainable at St. Mary's. There's a lot of ways for financial assistance and support for both January term and full semester study abroad. Oh, my computer is, oh my gosh, I think I did it again. I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness. So sorry about that.
Very,
I keep
very
clicking on the
quickly
URL.
while we
All right. Let's jump into
while we
admissions. We have about 10 minutes, so let's talk admissions.
Yes, so this is a very important slide. As you know, this is being recorded, but also if you want to go ahead and screenshot this slide for future reference, more power to you. I actively encourage that. This year is the first year that St. Mary's is test optional. This is a very good asset, a very good opportunity for you also as a student. I myself was not a very strong test taker, but I worked very hard to maintain my GPA. I would have loved an opportunity for a test optional option. So as you're considering colleges, also check to make sure if all of your options are test optional. We are, which means that we will not take into consideration your test scores. However, by doing so, this places a lot of emphasis on your GPA, the rigor of the courses that you're taking, as well as extracurricular activities, external opportunities, etc., etc. These are all part of what we call holistic admissions review. A holistic admissions review university has the advantage of reading every single application front cover to back cover all the way through. So for example, we don't have rounds of elimination where, if a student doesn't meet a certain percentage in something, we eliminate the application without reviewing it. We review every single application and we review them all independent of one another also. The reason we do this is because we want to give every single student applying the fairest chance possible to get into the university. As you can see from our deadlines that we have listed here, we have an early action deadline, which is November 15th, and a regular decision deadline, which is January 15th. Early action is a non-binding decision. So what that means for you as a student is you can apply early to us, but you do not have to commit to the university quite yet. We do require that we have one letter of recommendation from either a teacher or a counselor that you've had. You can always add more than just one letter of recommendation if you feel so inclined, but we do require at least one. Our median 50% of students that are applying, their GPAs fall between a 3.3 and a 3.8 GPA. We do, of course, admit students who are lower and students who are higher. This is just the median 50% of students admitted. And yeah, I did mention test optional. Jenna, would you like to kick it off with scholarships and anything else I might have forgotten?
Yeah, absolutely. So scholarships that are merit-based go hand in hand with the admissions process at St. Mary's. So at the same time that you submit your application for admission, whether that be for early action or for regular decision, students will automatically be considered for up to $30,000 of merit-based scholarship after a review of your academic weighted GPA. So at the same time that you hear back if you're accepted to St. Mary's, you will also be notified of your merit scholarship offer at that same time. It is renewable for all 4 years, so that scholarship, each and every one of your 4 years at St. Mary's would be applied to take off of tuition. So there's no separate scholarship process for merit-based aid or for consideration of merit-based aid. There are also a ton of other scholarships that students can apply for or be considered for. For example, there are alumni legacy scholarships by which students will automatically receive a $2,000 scholarship for having either immediate parents or grandparents that graduated from St. Mary's. We also have many departments on campus, different academic majors that offer significant scholarship for students that major in that field of study. For example, business, art practice, English, politics, history, theology and religious studies, math, physics, the integral program, and the performing arts, dance, music, and theater. These are all majors that offer a $13,000 scholarship for 4 incoming first-year students each year that have expressed interest in those majors or minors of study. Those do require applications. So please go online to our scholarships website on our admissions page and take a look at all the scholarships that we do have to offer in addition to merit-based aid, because those opportunities do stack. And then lastly, we strongly encourage students to file for need-based aid and apply for the FAFSA. Regardless of whether you think that your family will meet the standards for any federal aid allocation, St. Mary's does award institutional scholarships between $2,000 and up to $28,000 of additional grants for students that do demonstrate need. And we can't do that unless you file a FAFSA. The FAFSA actually opens tomorrow for our seniors this year. October 1st is the first day that you can submit your FAFSA. So please definitely make that a priority. Of students that do submit a FAFSA, 90% of our students receive financial aid from St. Mary's. And our our average financial aid package last year fell between $38,000 to $42,000. And that was comprehensive of merit-based scholarships, private scholarships, and need-based aid.
Perfect. And if you have any remaining questions, please feel free to contact us. Our emails and our contact information can be found through our website. We also have our emails listed here. Yet again, if you would like to take a screenshot of this slide, I encourage it. If not, you can also find our contact information through our website through the admissions staff page. Perfect.
So in the time that we maybe have, there's a couple other questions that came up that we might want to address. Just briefly, we were asked about cost of attendance. The total cost of attendance, including room and board and tuition, is a little under $64,000 annually, which is a sticker price. I always advise students to never let the cost of a college deter them from applying. Number one, because chances are students actually could apply for free. For example, for students that are applying for this year, the fall of 2021, through the common application, the code GAELS21, GAELS 21, will actually waive the common application fee. So please take note of that. If you missed it, type us in or type in the chat and we'll get that for you. Or you can email us. It's GAELS21, GAELS. And we just want to thank you so much. We tried to get to all of your questions that came in through the chat, and we hope that we were able to answer many of the questions that you might have had, maybe answer some questions that you hadn't even thought that you had. And we are very excited to potentially read your applications this fall, to be working with you throughout your college search. As a Colleges That Change Lives school, finding that right fit is incredibly important. So we definitely recognize that every student's journey is unique, and we're here to help you along with that too.
Ladies, anything else before we wrap up here?
Nope, I'll say that if we didn't get to your questions, we're going to get them as an email. So we're going to respond to you within the next couple of days back to those questions. So thanks so much again, everybody. And we hope you have a great rest of the week and keep in touch with us for sure going forward.
Thank you so much.
So students, thank you so much for joining us. If you would like to find out more about the university, obviously visit their website. And if you would like to get a recording of this, it will be available at the same login that you were before. Any questions that weren't answered will be, will be answered later via email. And we thank you for joining us. Ladies, thank you for your opportunity to learn about St. Mary's, and everybody have a great night. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.